Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Tuesday Checklist, the weekly show where we talk about games and how we play them. This week we got talking about rules within games that we made up and imposed on ourselves, secret behavioural codes that the game itself has no idea about, but that are vitally important to us all the same. And where better to start than with Dave talking to us about key safety equipment maintenance and location.
I think I have a few of these. One big one, I don't know if you guys have the same thing. If I can, always have to finish on a win. So if we're playing something, if playing an online game, something like that, you know, often I've been late back from lunch because I can't finish on that. I can't finish on that loss. I'm going to have one more game and then work a bit later.
It can make the rest of your afternoon just terrible.
It can.
Finish on a loss.
But I've noticed a very strange one recently, playing 2 Point Hospital, and it's a fantastic game. I'm really enjoying it. It's really funny, and I think it's quite British in its humour. It's made by a British team and they're quite tongue-in-cheek. That's not anything to do with what I'm going to tell you, because I'm applying a very serious set of rules onto my 2 Point Hospital, and that is that the first thing I do when building any room is put in a fire extinguisher. And it's because, it's because fire kills, guys. Fire kills. Nathan and I, about 2 months ago, went on fire marshal training, and I've had the fear of God put into me about fires. And I've not yet seen a fire in 2 Point Hospital, but as soon as I saw that they were fire extinguishers, I know that they are going to literally burn me at some point. And so my rule is there has to be at least one fire extinguisher in the room, has to be by the door. And I don't even think that that's necessarily good training, but I've noticed that's where fire extinguishers tend to be. They tend to be in the real world by doors. Not sure why. Maybe so it's you can kick open a door. No, they didn't tell us about that. I don't think that's a rule.
Is that not quite a bad... Well, I mean, if let's say you're a single person in a room, then you
Just
get
a single person in a room.
And then you've got like open the door. Wouldn't opening the door make the fire worse?
Well, it depends, Rosie. That is something you do have to be aware of. You do have to be aware of airflow and will you actually fuel the fire? Yeah. But you can put fire extinguishers both sides of a door. I mean, if it's a fire door, you should keep it closed. And if it's a big fire, you shouldn't be fighting it yourself. We're getting off topic.
Surely if you get to the door, you should just be getting out.
The main thing to do in the event of a fire is to get out the building. Get out the building. Don't fight the fire. Unless it's very small. Anyway, you're not trained like me. Just let me do the firefighting. But in 2 Point Hospital, they have to do the firefighting. I've yet to see one. I'm only on hospital number 2. And for anyone who's watched the stream and is angry at how my hospital looked, that was a stream hospital and it doesn't count. I've since gone back and I've made a lovely hospital that I'm very proud of. And most importantly, it has maybe too many fire extinguishers.
Okay, so, and this is a very strange rule that I used to impose on myself, not so much now, but it is always still there, sort of like in the back of my head. And it's a rule that sort of grew out of, the types of games I liked to play and still do like to play. And often those are JRPGs. And also how I play those games, which is, I like to prepare myself for any kind of difficult boss fight by over-leveling myself so that when I actually eventually get to it, I'm just very powerful. It's not hard. I like to play games, win,
and then
not die and be like, yeah, I'm really good at this game. And the first time this ever happened to me, I was playing a game called Grandia 2, which is a fantastic JRPG on the PS2. I was about 50 hours in. I was getting to that stage where it was like, okay, we're about to go into the place where the big bad guy is. It's getting dangerous now. And I hadn't died at all up to this point. I'd had a couple of boss fights that were really challenging and I was on the brink of death, but I managed to pull through. And I sort of got immersed into this fiction. I got really pulled into my band of characters as this group of people fighting against the evil that I was fighting against, but also fighting against sort of like us against the world And I really felt like, wow, we're still here. And you could go into like an inn or a tavern and you could eat and drink with your party in Grandia, which is a mechanic I really like. And I love to be in that tavern, eating and drinking with my party, knowing that we just escaped this boss battle. Like, hey, we're still here, guys. We're still alive. This is amazing. And that feeling of just, I've not died yet. This is an actual adventure and I've not died. And then 50 hours in, I get to this boss, hard as hell, and I died. And I was like, well, that's where my Grandia 2 adventure finished. And I never played it again. And to this day, I've never played it again. Because I just didn't feel able, like it was just a huge deflation. The whole fiction I'd built up in my head about this immortal band of adventurers who somehow just couldn't be killed.
Defeating
as soon as they had a game over had happened, it sort of just broke that entire fiction I'd built up.
You role-played too hard.
And yeah, I did role-play too hard, and it's part of the reason why when I go back and play Metal Gear Solid 2 or Metal Gear Solid, if I get spotted, it's like, well...
I just thought you were a
and
massive
that's where that ends. Like, there's something really unbelievable for me that I can't get over if I'm controlling Snake in Metal Gear Solid 2 and he clumsily just walks out in the rain and gets spotted by just a grunt, just a no one.
Snake wouldn't do
that. Snake wouldn't do that. And so that game is just void. It's gone. And there have been multiple times, and you're right, Nathan, this might also be because I'm a bit of a big baby, where I have played games and I have died within like the first 10 minutes and I've never played that game ever again. And there are a number of very, very excellent games that I have in my PS4 backlog, and I won't name what they are, that I have started playing them and for whatever reason I've just mucked it up in like the first half hour and it's like, close application, delete application, and they just never get played again. And it's this strange sort of barrier that I now impose upon myself where I can't die. If I die, that's it. That's
like
where my adventure ended.
So a little nitpicky thing that I like to do, that I don't need to do in video games, is it originates from RPGs.
Right.
And it's whenever I have like, you know, like common items like a potion, ether, a phoenix down or whatever, any kind of item like
I
that,
think I know what you're about to say.
I have to have the quantity be 0 or 5.
Yes.
I have to do it. If it's, even if, like, for example, in Final Fantasy X, I did this all the time, and I remember I got to a point where I got so obsessed, I was like, oh, maybe I'll just buy like, you know, 10 more just for a bit of safety, and then I got the max capacity, and then it went to like any time that I maybe used like 1 potion, I just go to a shop, buy 1 potion just to make it the full capacity again, even though I didn't need it.
What about if the full capacity is 99?
Well, then I just kind of, if it's the full capacity, I kind of accept that because I'm like, I can't do anything to fix this. The game won't allow me to have my little nitpickiness. But any other time, like even when I've been playing the original Final Fantasy VII, I don't need to buy any potions, but because I just want to get it on the 5 or the 0, and then if it gets a bit harder, you know, like the difficulty spike happens, then I'm like, right, I'll just buy another 10 or another whatever I need to get it to the 5. It drives me mad.
I'm with you, Rosie.
Yeah, I'm
totally with
so...
you. I can't have 12. I can't have 12 potions.
No, you can't. You've got to have, just buy 3, and then people are like, oh, but you don't need it. It's fine. You're just like, no, like I have to.
I'm even worse at this than you, Rosie. I can't accept a 5. It has to be around 0.
It has to be, mainly it does have to be around 0.
If I've got 12 potions, I'm buying 18 potions. Maybe.
Yeah. No, to be fair, I'm more than 0.
Or 8. I always like to be safe, so 18.
Does this carry over into other games?
It tends to, yeah, I'd say it kind of does. I'm trying to think of if there's any other examples.
Is there inventory management in Yakuza?
There is, you can like buy things in Yakuza, but mainly like you've got like item slots. So for example, if I buy like a stamina royale, I'll just make it so that all my inventory slots are stamina royales. But then I eat them in like a certain order to make it all neat and tidy. I can't like, for example, eat one in the, or drink one in the middle. I'm like, no, it has to be that one, then that one, then that one. I have to do it in order. But I'm just trying to think if there is anything.
You're the strange one here, Nathan. Not me or Rosie.
We're normal. We know how to play RPGs and with our inventory slots.
Okay.
But okay, just leaves the room quietly. But I'd say that's one thing. I didn't realise it until I started playing Final Fantasy VII recently, and I was just like, oh my god, I always have to have it. Mainly on the 0, like you say, but I can accept the 5 because you know, when you're starting a game, sometimes Phoenix Downs are a bit more expensive than the other items, so I'm like, I can't put all my money, so then I'll accept it a 5, but it is a 5 or a 0.
I would actually argue that my one isn't a strange rule. That it is something I impose upon myself. But I also think that it's just universal justice. This is how everyone should be playing this particular sort of game, and this game in particular. And it stems from, I've spoken before on the channel about how at university was a big time for playing Tekken 3 for me. And there was one person who, so there was a house of 6 of us. 2 of us were, you know, better than everybody else at Tekken 3. So we would, and also you're probably lonelier, and we would play more Tekken 3 together. I was Law, my friend Matt was Paul. We used to just have battles. The fight counter would go past 100 a lot of the time. And within that, you develop a feel for the other person's game, how they like to play. Me and Matt could have games which were, I like to think, genuinely interesting to watch, because we would be reversing, counter-reversing, ducking each other's throws, and we'd understand each other's style of play in a way which made it, I mean, if Tekken was ever to be, I mean, it is, I guess it's an e-sport, isn't it? But a spectator sport, you could do a lot worse than watching 1999 era me and Matt playing Tekken 3. And one of the things that became, I cannot remember how it happened, which is why I think it is just like, this is just moral, this is how it should be, is that you do not finish a fight with a low kick while someone is lying on the ground. That is just not okay. To the point where even though me and Matt would become completely like we would, if I was on a losing streak of a few matches, you know, I'd be burning with anger that I wanted to defeat Matt. But if he had that much life left and I had put him on the ground, I would not finish him with a single low kick. And one of Law's particular strengths is the sweep kick that you can do, and people will try and get up again and again and again. If you're playing survival mode as Law out there, you can just whack, 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 and people who don't quite know what they're doing, yeah, they will try and get up into that all the time. And Paul also, he has the downward kind of stamping punch,
deadly,
and he's also got a sweep that he can do, which goes into that punch, as I know, because I know all of Paul's moves as well as I know Law's, because we used to fight all the time. But it became like this hard law. And then sometimes people who were less versed in the lunacy of how we used to play Tekken would play, and they would finish around like that, and they would be like just quiet in the room, like, oh, what's this person done? Why are you? What on earth are you doing? Yeah, it's just
like the Tekken equivalent of what they describe as the sweaty goal in FIFA.
But yeah, 100%. Yeah, dishonourable. It's a dishonourable kill.
I mean, if you're in an actual fight to the death with someone,
yeah,
you'd kick them when they're on the floor.
If I was in the actual Iron Fist tournament,
they're on the floor because you've put them there, and I think you have the right to kick them whilst they're on the floor.
I think
it's the lack of skill. I think you're one of the people who's run afoul of this with me, where I've gone, what on earth are you doing? And you're like, I'm playing the game. Kicking you on the ground, what are you talking about? I don't know why, it just seems dishonourable somehow to me. I think it's because the combo's finished, and like the low blow afterwards just seems cheap. Just seems cheap. So there you go. That's something I will never do. You'll never catch me doing. I've probably done it to you on a stream. Someone's gonna.
This whole time I've been thinking, have I done this to you? And you've just been dead inside.
I can tell you did, Rosie. Yes. It's incredible to me that you would play a game for that long, for 50 hours, and then not just be like, oh, I may as well just reload and beat the boss and see what happens.
It's sort of legendary Grandia 2 for me now. I don't know what happens at the end of Grandia 2.
You're about to find out in the comments.
Very likely. I mean, I'm guessing what happens is you win.
And I just know you will. Go on, what the heck happened at the end of Grandia 2? Or did you all die and give up as well? Just as importantly, let us know the weird rules you play games by in the comments. Give us a like if you enjoyed the video, and join us again next Wednesday for another Tuesday checklist. Thanks for watching.
For the players.